Today I'm working on an 02 Artic 375. Same engines in a Suzuki quad also. So it'll work whether you have a Suzuki or an Artic apparently. My issue was it had a really weird issue, I guess. It would start, run for about 10-15 seconds, but it was super rough and super low RPM. It almost acted as if it was a 2-cylinder and one of the banks was completely dead, even though that's not it. It would like start and it would like boom 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 boom. I don't know. It was hard to explain. I don't have any video of it doing it either. But I looked online. I looked literally everywhere. Searched YouTube. Searched Artic forums, searched everything I can find or think of to find an answer, and I couldn't. The only thing I did see was that I guess on the 400s it's a common issue. A little better. It's a common issue for these magnets, the adhesion to, give way, and then the magnets turn, which essentially throws off the ignition timing, which kind of seemed like that's what was going on. So I decided to rip it apart and look, and my magnets are fine. But within it, where this block comes down to the stator, I found 2 wires. Focus. Aha. Found 2 wires here. That guy and that guy. And they were actually touching. So I just took it apart, or I separated the wires out. I didn't have any heat shrink small enough to depin it and run through, and I really don't feel like driving into town. So I just threw some tape around it. It's a farm quad. We're not gonna get too much out of it. And put it back together, and it fired right up. Ran great. But my issue is every time I would tighten the case down, or when I took the case off, sorry, hold on, let me back up here. When I took the case off, all of these came out with the case. And on this washer, the shift fork, and this washer right here, right? So this one was on here like so. Oh, make sure when you put that back together, the dots line up. Boom. Yep. So this guy though somehow ended up back behind here. I have no idea how. I assumed that it had fallen off of here and down in there when I took it apart, but that is not the case. This shift selector actually has 2 washers, one on the front side, one on the back side here. And what was happening with me, my issue is when I took this apart, these didn't exactly stay with the case or with the block of the engine. Everything kind of just fell. And I had no idea how to put it back together. Found one video on YouTube, and the guy says, yeah, make sure it don't fall apart, because it takes a lot to put back together, but then don't tell you how to put it back together. I'm like, come on, guy. So, now I'm out here trying to help the world, one ATV at a time, and I'm going to show you how to put these back together. Like I said, the washers, spacers, whatever you want, shims, whatever you want to call them, stay on this. They don't go behind any of these gears at all. What was happening with me was, with me assuming that goes right there, I would put this dowel in, and then I tried putting the spacer on that side and put it all together, and when I would tighten down the case, it would bind up the starter, and it would just click. It wouldn't want to spin over. Pulling it by the recoil assembly, it was real crunchy and just didn't feel right. And so, I took it back apart and put this on, tried putting the spacer on, or the shim on this side, and I had no luck at all. About 3 days of messing with it, I finally figured out that it goes right there. So What I am going to do though is show you how the gears go back together, because even though it's pretty straightforward, this seems to be a huge issue with a lot of people looking online. So, and there's not a fix for it online, and there's no schematic available from Artic on how to put this back together. So if you are experiencing a weird electrical issue and you decide to rip this off and everything falls apart, hopefully this is the video for you. Short dowel goes on the solid gear. Shaft faces the case, not the engine block. Obviously this gear will match up with this gear. This gear will match up with the starter. You just go ahead and slap that guy back on there, give her a few rotations to seat in properly. Make sure those are pushed in, push that in, and then put your case back on, and it will crank over just fine. Definitely check these wires too, because I did not expect that to be the issue. I was almost positive it was a bad CDI, and it wasn't. Also, another quick fun fact, these are not liquid cooled. There's a radiator there, there's a radiator fan by the looks of it, but it's actually not a radiator, it's an oil cooler. These are not liquid cooled, which I, looking at that, assumed it was. It was only until I got the case off and I started pulling the oil line that I realized oil runs through that, not coolant. And then I really realized when I didn't see a single coolant line going to the engine. So, just a little fun fact, these are not liquid cooled. Pulling this case off is a pain in the ass. If all that falls apart, you have no idea how to put it back together. Luckily I'm persistent, and after about 3 days I figured it out. So hopefully this helps you guys out, and you all have a great day.